It's a cool day, early fall 2003 in the Adirondack region, but as Calvin and I drove to Au Sable Acres, I said, this is God's country. What a picturesque ride. The mountains looked beautiful. As we were coming down the Adirondack Northway, heading south toward Keysville and Au Sable Forks, the skies began to clear on this cool second day of October, and sun was shining over this beautiful spot in Au Sable Acres. And I have to tell you, the gentleman we're about to interview seems like an old friend, because the first time we talked for an hour on the telephone. So I knew a lot of the highlights of his life long before we decided to come here. But one thing was certain for me: when I finished that telephone call, I knew we were going to come here and do an interview with Dr. Nick Salese. How are you?
Very well today, and a little excited, too.
Thank you so much for inviting us up here. This is, when I say God's country, I'm not kidding. This is a spot of all spots on the face of the earth.
Well, I made that same decision about 20 years ago. I came as a visit, probably to bring the youngsters to the North Pole. And I looked around and I said, North Pole, this is the place to live. And we made it our retirement home. The retirement home became the all-year-round home. We had youngsters that decided they wanted to be married, needed a little fiscal help, so we turned over our Long Island home to one of the boys, and we're up here, and we don't regret 1 minute of it.
You know, it's amazing. We just had a cup of coffee before we started, and we were truly enthralled by the fact that we know some of the same people. We've been to some of the same places. Calvin and I have commented 1,000 times on, if you just stop and talk to somebody, you'll find you got 28 connections somewhere along the line. Isn't it wonderful?
Absolutely true. It happens to me every day. It just happened a week ago in Lake Placid. I was talking to a stranger, and he's a very dear friend of a man that worked with me for 40 years, Professor Astuto.
See how it works?
Yes.
When we had Nick on the phone the first time, and he told me that he worked at St. John's University for how many years? We're going to talk about that later.
40 years.
I said, well, I rode crew at Stony Brook on Long Island for 4 years, and the first college I ever rode against was St. John's in Long Island Sound, and froze to death. Probably lost a race, but you know.
Very good. We're going to talk about Stony Brook. I have a little surprise for you on that.
Oh, you got a lot of surprises for our viewers. If you ever sat through an entire program of Our Little Corner on Hometown Cable, I think now would be the time, because we're going to follow the illustrious life and career of Nick Salese. We're going to go to Sicily if we have to.
No, not Sicily. It's Abruzzi.
Oh, Abruzzi.
It's way over on the Adriatic side.
Okay.
In fact, there are very few of them in America, because the trip from the Adriatic to the Mediterranean to get the ship probably cost them more money than the voyage across. So there are few of us around. Although I understand the Bishop of Ogdensburg, who just left us, was part of that same clan.
Okay.
Bishop Barbarito.
Okay, you can tell the story now if you want to. You got to tell me the story that you just told as we were having a cup of coffee.
Well, we welcomed the bishop to our little mission chapel that we have here at Wilmington, St. Margaret's. Father Alan Lamaker is the pastor. And as I was walking in, he said, there's the gentleman that taught the cardinal Spanish. Oh, fine. How do you do, sir? Etc. We went inside, and they had a display of very beautiful cakes that the ladies in the parish had baked for the occasion. And he walked in, the bishop, and examined all of these lovely cakes, and nice, very nice. And suddenly yells out, "Pizzelle!" It's a cake that they make in this province of Italy, and it's made at home. And my wife, who is not Italian, but does Italian cooking and baking, produced pizzelle for the bishop's occasion without any knowledge of his background.
Isn't that wonderful?
So knowing that he enjoyed them, I got a hold of the driver, his limousine driver. I snatched or liberated a few from the table, put them in a bag, and I said, on his way back to Ogdensburg, feed him some more. Because he's talking so much that he probably doesn't have time for a snack. So that's the story of the pizzelle. By the way, my mother brought the irons from Italy, heavy irons. They look like a huge scissor. They put them on a gas stove, and that's how they produced them. But now, with modern industrial know-how, we can buy an electric job and do the same thing.
Isn't that great? I had never heard of them before, and unfortunately, as all my friends and some people who used to be my friends when I was a fat guy know, I'm on this Atkins diet plan, and I saw them sitting there, and you were breaking my heart talking about them.
We both were fat guys.
Yeah.
I had a little problem, Joe, just about a year ago. Little shortness of breath, and the Dr. Flesh in Plattsburgh suggested I spend a weekend at the inn, the Plattsburgh Hospital. They pulled out about 20 gallons of water, almost an unheard of thing.
I never heard of such
and
a
I
thing
went
in my
from
life.
240 to 27, 28.
Just
Now
like
about
that, huh?
215.
I don't think that's the way I want to diet.
Don't lose your weight that way.
Where are we going to start this grand
we'll
tour?
Start here.
Okay,
We'll start right here at the staircase.
we're going to pause just a moment to make sure everything is working here, and then we're going to go up the down staircase.